Yo, what is up, AD team? Austin back again with another video. Now, throughout this time frame, I've made a lot of videos why I believe calisthenics is better than weightlifting. But in 2023, do I still feel the same? Do I still feel like calisthenics is better than weightlifting? What are my thoughts on that? I'm here to tell you that even till this day, if I had to pick one training style, I still believe calisthenics still overrules weightlifting. And I've had my kind of doubts about that, and I've been back and forth, and throughout this time frame I've actually done both training styles, and nowadays I do more of a hybrid. Now, the reason why I still believe calisthenics is better than weightlifting is because I just believe everybody should have a foundational relative strength in order to move their body weight through space. Even still to this day, I go into gyms, I see bodybuilders, guys who can't even do 10 pull-ups. Like, how are we in this time frame and you still can't even do 10 pull-ups? It still blows my mind. And speaking about that, I believe calisthenics had almost like a peak popularity time frame within like 2017, 2018, 2019, definitely 2020, whenever the lockdown happened. But ever since then, people have overall fallen off. So overall, of course, the relative strength you get, and also just a biased opinion, of course, is calisthenics is still more fun. It's still more fun to me. Being able to almost treat your workouts like a progression and like a video game. I've always compared calisthenics to a video game, how you unlock levels throughout time and change up the variation. Then from there, you see your progress. I went from not being able to even balance myself with a wall to now being able to walk on my hands, to not being able to do 5 pull-ups to now being able to do weighted one-arm pull-ups. That progressional process through there is just overall the most fun, and it makes fitness in itself more challenging, and it makes it so that you look forward to each and every workout. Not to mention, in order to be good at calisthenics, you still have to be relatively lean. So that's the benefit I feel with calisthenics too. It's almost like your body knows that it's doing calisthenics. So through that, you maintain a low % body fat. And from there, that's why I've always stayed lean throughout this whole entire time frame. It's because since I'm doing mostly calisthenics training, my body knows that if I put on more fat, there's going to be an issue. And that's also why I can never stick to a bulking cycle for a long period of time. But even though I feel calisthenics is still better than weightlifting until this day, and if I had to choose one, I would still do it time and time over again, I do believe weightlifting has its place, and that's why I've implemented more of a hybrid sort of routine within my training. If you guys don't know, I have a program called Limitless Athlete, which is actually on a spring sale right now. If you want to check it out, link will be down below. But I've been doing that sort of style training for about 2 to 3 years right now, and I figured out a way to not necessarily neglect weightlifting, but I figured out a way how to implement it within my routine, and also I want to share that with you guys right now. Number one, I use weightlifting to isolate my weak chains. Even though calisthenics is amazing, it does have its cons. And the cons is that since everything is mostly a compound movement, outside of some isolation exercises you can do with the rings and all that stuff, overall there are going to be some muscle groups that will be neglected. So that's the first thing I discovered with weightlifting. I can isolate my weak chains and or weak body parts that necessarily don't get hit in my calisthenics movement. Example for me are my medial delts. You don't get a whole lot of medial delt work, or at least isolation work, when it comes to your calisthenics movements, right? You can try and manipulate some sort of variation, but overall your best bet is going to be using dumbbells, machines, or cables or something like that in order to isolate. Also, of course, with the legs, I've described this many times, but the posterior chain, the hamstrings are best work if you implement weightlifting to isolate those weak points and to make you overall more stronger. So another example is that I use weightlifting to actually make my weak points stronger to then make my calisthenics skills stronger. For example, the weighted pull-up. Whenever I was training to get a really, really heavy and strong weighted pull-up, I noticed in myself that my biceps were a weak link. My lats were really strong, but when I was doing pull-ups, my biceps would give out. There's not a whole lot of isolation bicep movements I can do. So what I would do is I would replicate that movement with a hammer curl. Because if you notice, whenever you do a pull-up, see the position of my arm? That's nearly the same position as a hammer curl. So I would do my weighted pull-ups, and then at the end of the workout, I would do hammer curls to strengthen up that area of my bicep for extra volume without targeting my lats, so then I can get a stronger weighted pull-up. And then also you can use weightlifting to actually build more muscle. Now the reason why this works hand in hand with calisthenics is because a bigger muscle is a stronger muscle. So if you're trying to do some sort of skill or another dynamic calisthenics movement and you're finding yourself lagging in that sort of strength area, try just building more muscle in that area through weightlifting, then going back to that calisthenics movement, then you'll notice you'll actually be stronger. Once again, the same example with one-arm pull-ups, even planche push-ups sometimes. You can do these decline presses to target more the lower chest, build more muscle in the lower chest, transfer that to a planche variation, and you'll notice you'll also be stronger in that movement too. Then also with weightlifting, it helps that you can overload the bodyweight movement just for a sense of novelty. A lot of you guys probably haven't experienced this, but whenever you actually get good at calisthenics, it comes to a point where it's like, okay, what's next? Okay, what's next? Because remember the video game sort of mentality I had? Eventually you'll get to a point where you'll reach the final boss. You'll fight the final boss and you beat him. And then you're like, okay, what do I do? Right? So you always need some sense of novelty, in my opinion, to have some sort of structure long-term and to actually enjoy training. And the novelty that I found that I actually like, just adding weight to the body weight movements. Now, there's a big debate whether or not weighted calisthenics is actually weightlifting, because when you think about it, right, a squat, a weighted squat, that's a calisthenics movement just overloaded with weight. So is doing weighted dips, is doing weighted push-ups, is doing weighted muscle-ups, is doing all these weighted body weight movements a sense of, or a variation of weightlifting? It might be, but long story short, do both. Do both. That's why I preach the limitless athlete approach, the hybrid approach. Yes, myself, I did calisthenics for a very long time, only calisthenics, but now I feel everybody should do both. But if you don't have the relative strength base first, you should focus on that first and then implement both, right? Then once again, if I only had to choose one, best believe calisthenics will be my answer. All right, so if you want to check out my Limitless Athlete program, I'll leave a link down below. It's on a spring sale once again. And let me know, if you had to pick one, which one would you choose? Weightlifting or calisthenics? See you guys in the next one. Subscribe. Peace.